Hello and welcome to the Community Foundation Annual Luncheon. I'm Keith McCafferty, 2020 Board Chair. This year marks the 20th anniversary of the Foundation. It's an opportunity for us to take stock of where we are, where we've been, and where we're going. As we look around us, we've been experiencing a global pandemic that's taken more than 100,000 lives in this country. We've seen the senseless killings of George Floyd and Ahmaud Arbery on our television screens. It's been a time of pain and grief and isolation for many of us. It's also an opportunity for us to listen and to learn. How do we take the lessons of the pandemic and the lessons from the rallies of the past 2 weeks and turn those lessons into lasting change? How do we create a more inclusive community based on principles of racial and social justice? Over the weekend, I was reminded of a quote from Angela Davis. It was on one of the posters at one of the rallies. She said, "I am no longer accepting the things I cannot change. I am changing the things I cannot accept." Beautiful words, and it's an opportunity for us to take advantage of that. And I would invite you to join us here at the Foundation as we look to take bold and effective action to carry out our mission. And with that, I'd like to introduce you to George Ferrari, our Executive Director. Thank you.
Good afternoon. My name is George Ferrari, and I have the honor of serving as CEO of your Community Foundation. Thank you for taking time to be with us today. We hope that you and yours are well and taking care as we recognize and reflect on many stressors we are experiencing, some new, some very old indeed. The economic challenges resulting in loss of jobs and businesses, as well as the COVID-19 pandemic and the deadly manifestations of racial injustice, both resulting in loss of life and hope, have made us ponder and modify the form and content of this gathering. We even considered whether it was appropriate to cancel this event in the light of the most recent tests, trials, and protests of longstanding racial injustice, white supremacy, and violence experienced by African American members of our communities. We do not want this gathering to be about us. We need this to be about the broader we and voices traditionally unheard. People's hearts are heavy with compounded trauma, resulting in rage, despair, confusion, and exhaustion. In the final determination, after consultation with many others, we thought it best to continue with this offering as one way of many of our community to connect with each other in the context of prolonged social isolation and in the reality of the toxicity of racial injustice. We offer this in humility, not because it is perfect or complete, but because it is necessary, and we hope enliven it. We describe philanthropy as the voluntary contribution of time, talent, treasure, and voice, and the optimistic hope that in as good or as bad as things are, we can make our communities, our lives, and our futures better and more just. At its best, community philanthropy enables us to come together and for everyone to have access to the tools and to partner in the work that moves us closer to our vision of a Tompkins County that thrives thanks to engaged philanthropy. Philanthropy, as any other human-made institution or sector, is imperfect and requires constant vigilance and commitment to continuous improvement. The institutional inequity we are seeking to redress has caused the communities most impacted by generations of injustice to often be least likely to control funding decisions and to have access to and control of resources like ours. This must change. We are committed to dismantling white supremacy as it operates within our own organization, within philanthropy, and everywhere else we discover it in our society. Policies, leadership, resource priority decisions can either perpetuate and reward systemic racism, or they can dismantle it. Intention is important, but not nearly as critical as impact. We need to redesign the economic, social, and justice systems that have functioned to deliver the results we are grappling with today and have documented a soul-searing heritage of brutality and destruction of potential. Your Community Foundation is part of a philanthropic sector that must make the changes which advance racial justice. We need to reorganize and improve the institutions of philanthropy, beginning with our Community Foundation. We recommit to you that Community Foundation will continue and enhance our energies and resources to address the centuries-old pandemic of racism and white supremacy. This means doing the difficult, messy, but critical work to examine our organization, our board and staff, our policies and decisions, and our use and sharing of power that comes from being a grant-making organization. After examination and listening to each other and to you, then we must take better informed and more effective action. We ask that you hold us accountable as we seek to hold ourselves true to this pledge. The mission of your community foundation is to improve the quality of life in Tompkins County by inspiring and supporting enduring philanthropy. That is the quality of life for everyone, not just some. This compels us to deep reflection, honest and respectful partnerships, and informed action so that systemic racism, violence, and economic inequity are eliminated. This is a colossal goal which takes generations and centuries to achieve, but which is accomplished by daily commitment. Systemic racism is continual and always present. Our resolve to undo it must be the same. The question we ask ourselves, and encourage you to consider as well, is at this time and in this place, what am I called to do? Now we would like to share with you some words from a variety of Community Foundation partners, donors, grantees, collaborators. We trust that you will find inspiration and hope in their comments, which would lift you toward the action that our communities need at this time and well into the future. When their comments are completed, I will be back with you to conclude our gathering with some resources for your consideration. Thank you.
My name is Natasha Thompson, and I'm the president and CEO of the Food Bank of the Southern Tier. We provide food and other grocery items to a network of about 165 community-based organizations across the Southern Tier region, including Tompkins County. Last year, we distributed about 12 million pounds of food through that network. In this time of COVID, we've had to really step up our game at the food bank. We've served 50% more people across the region who have reached out for help. We've distributed twice as much food as we have this time last year. We've been doing these community food distributions where you have 500 cars lined up to get food, and it's a low touch distribution. So we have volunteers wearing masks and gloves, and they're taking boxes of food and they're just putting it in people's trunks. And it's just been incredible to see the gratitude coming from the folks who are receiving this food, and even from the volunteers as well, the people that are engaging in these distributions, the people that are out on the front lines. They're incredibly grateful for the opportunity to be able to help. Feeding people is such a tangible way to demonstrate love and caring. And we're sort of in the middle of that, and we get to see all that. And it really gives you hope that the world is actually quite a beautiful place and filled with people who care. And just the other day, I did a virtual check presentation with an 8-year-old boy who played his violin in the streets of Owego for money that he then donated to the food bank, and he was able to raise $1,000. And, that gives me hope. That story has the power to inspire other kids and even adults to figure out ways that they can contribute. And if we all did that, I think there's nothing we couldn't do.
Hello, I'm Benay Rubenstein, the director of College Initiative Upstate. And the Community Foundation of Tompkins County has been extremely supportive of our organization and a number of projects. In fact, we just got a new grant called Voices That Must Be Heard to support a peer leadership group that we're starting. I'm extremely grateful, extremely grateful. 2/3 of our students are parents. In fact, that's the reason why many of our students have decided to go to college, because they want their children to have a very positive sense of what education is about. The other area that gives me really wonderful feelings about where we're moving as a community is that CIU students are moving into leadership roles in Tompkins County. And in fact, I would like to introduce one of our emerging leaders, Richard Rivera. He's a fairly new student at College Initiative Upstate, completing his bachelor's degree with Bard College at Cornell. And Richard has not wasted one moment during the current pandemic. He has been working tirelessly to assist people who live in the jungle, the encampment behind the big box stores here in Ithaca. And I'd like him to tell you about it himself.
My name is Richard Rivera. I am a formerly incarcerated person. I was released from prison approximately 10 months ago after serving 39 years in prison. When I entered the prison system, I couldn't read or write, and I earned a GED, bachelor's, a master's, and I'm currently working on another bachelor's degree at Bard College. I walked out of Eastern Correctional Facility into Cornell, where I took 2 graduate semesters, which I completed this fall. I also been working in Ithaca doing an ethnography, looking at mental health, drug abuse, and homelessness. I work for 2 nonprofits, OAR, Opportunities, Alternatives, and Resources, and I also work for STAP, Southern Tiers AIDS program, as a harm reduction technician. I went to prison as a really, really troubled child. I committed a horrible, horrible crime. I was 16 years old. And despite the fact that prison is inscribed as a violent and nasty and ugly place, it was there that I learned the meaning of compassion and hope. And I learned it from individuals that were themselves locked up for years, some of them for life, and a lot of them died in prison. And but it showed me that human beings are always capable of growth and development. And yeah, that's what inspires me. That I cannot give up on anyone. You know what I mean? So I have a weird relationship with hope. I was in prison for 39 years. I was denied parole 6 times. And after the 2nd time, you start losing hope and it becomes more and more difficult to find it. I will wake up in the morning and I will have to look for it. I will have to look for it under my cot, on the corners of my cell, in pictures of loved ones, in letters, in anything that would inspire a little more hope to keep me going for the next one. And then I landed on Ithaca. I landed in Ithaca, right? And Ithaca is a very progressive, forward-thinking community that sort of is motivated by hope. I mean, look at the response we had to the COVID crisis. We were actually able to flatten the curve by the way these organizations and agencies in our community were able to reconfigure and reorganize themselves to provide the services to the clients that needed it most and the areas where they reside at, so they could avoid spreading the virus by congregating in places where they get their resources at. I mean, this was a credible response, and it gives me hope. It gives me hope that working together, we can effectuate change.
Hello, I'm Nancy Massicci, Chief Development Officer at the Community Foundation. I hope my message today honors and supports this community. As a country, we have faced an abundant amount of change and uncertainty over the past couple of months and days, especially when it comes to how we connect and listen. In January, before the health pandemic and heightened protests, this organization announced its Door Opener Society. It's an award to recognize professional advisors whose contributions to philanthropy have been significant and long-standing. Inductees are advisors who present and encourage their clients to consider a philanthropic agenda with the Community Foundation. I've been wondering whether or not to share this information with you. Does it address the times? I hope you agree with me that the caring power of our Door Openers Society recipients illustrates and provides a valuable service to people. Awardees are professional advisors whose clients provide a long-lasting impact to improve the quality of life in Tompkins County. Every conversation about values and beliefs can bring a gift, fund, and request that provides much-needed philanthropic resources, especially needed during growing needs for health and human services, arts, environment, education, and community building. Congratulations to our inaugural Door Opener Society recipients, Bill Curry of Morgan Stanley, John Hinchcliffe of Miller Mayer, and Kim Rothman of Bousquet Holstein. Examples of resources received include the Bernie and Shirley Rosen Fund for Libraries, Lenore Coral Fund for Music Literature, the Kathy and Joel Zumoff Field of Interest Funds for Basic Needs and Education in the Arts, the Tapan Mitra Funds for Land Preservation, Cancer Support, and Education, and the Beth Jenkins Unrestricted Gift to support capacity building. Many professional advisors work with the Community Foundation to help clients achieve their charitable goals through giving to or creating funds or bequests. These three outstanding partners in the promotion of philanthropy, Bill, John, and Kim, received their Door Opener Society awards earlier at our annual Advisors Breakfast. I'm grateful to all advisors and donors who design and craft their financial objectives to include charitable giving to achieve a purpose for the love of mankind. Thank you.
My name is Aisha Jasper. I am the Community Development Liaison at Visions Federal Credit Union. And right now I am a volunteer for the Philanthropic Committee at the Community Foundation, and I have been for the past year. I really enjoy the insight from the other members of the committee and feeling like I am learning about Tompkins community on a regular basis from a wide variety of perspectives. It's a wonderful group to be a part of. They do such important work, and I couldn't be more proud to be a part of it. Ever since I started to work with the Community Foundation, I've seen them as a unique group. I work with several community foundations across different states and regions, and there's something really special about Tompkins County and the way they unite and support one another. And that was shown on a regular basis to me from the group, not just the committee, but the staff as well. I so appreciate that. And it goes so far, especially during these challenging times. They do such important work. They take the time to stop, to acknowledge me as a volunteer, to ask for my input and support me. And I hope I, in turn, have supported them. I really appreciate all that they do, and I just want to say thank you. I am inspired by the community rallying and standing up behind each other, specifically with a lot that's going on right now across our communities. I am inspired when people put aside their differences and stand up, irrespective if it is affecting their everyday lives or someone specifically in their circle. When people do that, it's a true sign of community and strength in community. I am again and again inspired when I see that. What gives me hope again is when I see people who make us dance, who make themselves feel uncomfortable to make someone else feel comfortable. That gives me hope. I feel like when we can all say that we will be vocal and we will stand by each other as a society, as a community, that is hope for the future for our children. Whether or not these things happen again, when we continue to have that feeling of camaraderie, I think that's the most hope that we can express or to feel from each other as a community.
My name is Basil Safi. I'm on the board of directors for the Community Foundation and happy to be speaking with all of you today. I've been part of the Community Foundation board for about 6 months at this point, and and really joined because I thought about my experience in Ithaca, living here for 5 years, and how I'm not exposed to all the various vantage points that the community functions under. I work for Cornell in my full-time job, and I realized that a lot of my conversations, a lot of my networks are dominated by Cornell focused viewpoints, and part of my desire to join the Community Foundation in this capacity was to learn a little bit more about this town-gown relationship, both as a personal and professional development opportunity, and to really have a more holistic view about ways the county functions and ways I may be able to contribute to some of those successes. That as a society, we've been through challenging times. The world has, but certainly Ithaca and Tompkins County have, and every time we've been able to recover. In this particular case, you see different areas emerging in the society where this volunteer effort is coming back, right? You're seeing people developing masks in their basement. And this resiliency that this community is expressing over these last several months really makes you think about, how much worse this could have been. And if it were to get worse in the future, if we were to face this again during the incoming winter season, we already have the memories. We've already learned those things, the lessons learned, the best practices about how to support each other as a community, but also how to come together as neighbors and as individuals to support ourselves. So what gives me the most hope is that, one, we've survived this far, despite the devastating losses to human life, to the economy, to a lot of these social structures. But on the other hand, there are key elements of society that have been strengthened as a result of going through these challenging times. And when I think about the long term, when I think about my own life and my own family, there have been real opportunities for growth that I think I'm going to remember for the rest of my life. I'd just like to end by saying how fortunate I feel to be part of the Community Foundation. It's given me such a fresh perspective on my personal and professional life, and I think has exposed me to new parts of the community that I wasn't aware of before, and I'll be forever grateful for this opportunity.
I am Amy LeViere, Chief Philanthropic Services Officer of the Community Foundation. It is an honor to be a part of this work alongside so many of you. As a community foundation, we seek to listen and to learn, to have hard conversations, to improve the quality of life for all in Tompkins County. I want to share one of our stories from 2019. Sometimes people follow in the footsteps of others, and sometimes they create their own path. You can read more about Helen Bear in our annual report, but today I'm going to share a brief account into how our experiences oftentimes are a catalyst for change. The stories she shared, the provocative questions she raised, the insight she had. If nothing else, Helen was a trailblazer, a pioneer to many, and yet she also reached back while thinking ahead, back to the difficult lives of others. She related a story on several occasions how her father, as a youth, had a very difficult childhood, losing a parent and then finding his way in the world while still a young teen. She would talk of how it must have felt to be alone and hungry, how her father would get soup. Helen would ask me, did I know how to make soup? Soup could be gotten for free at the diner. Asking for a cup of hot water and mixing ketchup into it, why then you would have soup. Upon Helen's passing, a fund was created, Resilience and Possibilities Endowment Fund, to help people, especially men, in difficult situations, advocating for vulnerable and at-risk populations while fostering and promoting identification of possibilities. And so a legacy continues, one of resilience and possibilities.
My name is Liz Karabinakis. I'm the Director of Healthy Food for All. I work at Cornell Cooperative Extension here in Tompkins County. And we have fortunately been supported by the Community Foundation since I believe the program started back in 2006. Healthy Food for All is a partnership of over a dozen local farms who work with Cornell Cooperative Extension. And our mission is to make locally grown fresh produce accessible to everyone in our community, regardless of income. We do this primarily through subsidizing CSA shares, coupled with educational resources like cooking classes and food preservation workshops to help people take full advantage of the full breadth and variety and abundance of locally grown food that they get as CSA members. The farmers I work with inspire me. The people who work tirelessly from before the sun rises until after it sets, day in and day out, to grow food for all of their neighbors, many of whom are family-owned farms who are committed to organic or biodynamic farming practices. And they do so with such a commitment to supporting the planet and the people of our community. Also who inspire me are our CSA members, our hundreds of low-income households who stretch themselves and stretch their food budgets to both feed their families well as supporting our local farmers by buying local food. I'm truly inspired by all of our partners, of which, of course, the Community Foundation is one, and many other local foundations who have supported us, and our community organizations and agency partners, as well as our countless volunteers who help us make healthy food accessible in dignified and reliable ways to our whole community, working together so that everyone can have access to healthy food and locally grown food, regardless of their resources. Gratitude is something I see expressed on so many levels and in so many ways. It's everything from heartfelt actions that people have and do for one another, like bringing food to our elders and making meals for neighbors, feeding children who aren't our own. I find hope with how we find ways to work towards ensuring everyone in our community can make it a home where our children feel safe and can grow up healthy, be respected and valued, and can meet all of their human needs in a dignified way. And I find hope in our community's commitment to fighting racism and all inequities on every level, and our community's way of embracing that task in a steadfast resolve. I also find hope in our youth and their resilience. I'm always learning. I'm learning from everyone I have the opportunity to work with, our farmers, our CSA members, our volunteers, and our partners like the Community Foundation, who are truly partners in this work. It's not about transactions, as George would say. It's about relationships. And that's what all of our work is built on. Building these relationships with one another and approaching this work more as a family and as partners, in recognizing our shared goals and our mission to enrich our community so everyone can be healthy and happy.
Hi there, I'm Alan Mathios, and I want to thank you for the opportunity for me to reflect on how grateful I am to live in Tompkins County and to be actively engaged with the Community Foundation. I have lived here since 1992, and one of the most important moments of my entire time in Ithaca was serving on a grant review committee for the Community Foundation. Well, prior to this, I was aware of many of the nonprofit organizations that served our community. Seeing the variety and the sheer number of organizations seeking support in one place was a true game changer for me. These people are the unsung heroes to me of our community. It motivated me to get more involved with the Community Foundation and to support the Community Foundation financially. And so I am very thankful to the Foundation for facilitating and enabling me to participate in its mission of service. Their mission is a noble one and is sorely needed in these stressful times. As different organizations address particular needs like social justice, food insecurity, homelessness, transportation, access to health care, mental health services, support of the arts and culture, it is extremely important to see and understand the compounding impact that multiple factors have on families. In many ways, the Community Foundation, through its support of all the nonprofit organizations, has a holistic lens through which it can see and assess how best to support others. And so supporting individual organizations and the Community Foundation makes perfect sense to me. And I have been thankful for the opportunity to support the endowment of the Community Foundation. Knowing that the nonprofits of the future will have help in supporting their missions of service is very gratifying to me. Who knows what our community will need 20 years from now? Knowing that the Community Foundation in 2040 will know gives me a great sense of hope for the future. I have often made an analogy between the natural beauty of Tompkins County and the endowment of the Community Foundation. Tompkins County is endowed with great natural beauty, from the waterfalls to the sunsets over the lake to the wonderful Finger Lakes hiking trail and the fields of corn in July. The waterfalls and streams were there centuries ago and will be there centuries from now. The water that flows through these falls will take different paths and flow in new ways in future years, but we know that there will be waterfalls and they will help define the fundamental beauty of the county forever. The endowment of the Community Foundation is very similar. It has been in existence for only about 20 years, but it is growing rapidly and will be there forever in the future, for that's what an endowment is. The types of grants and support that will flow to the community will look different 20 or 100 years from now, but the endowment will be there, helping define the fundamental character of Tompkins County forever. This, to me, is so awesome. I am also thankful to the staff of the Community Foundation. I have seen firsthand, especially when I was chair of the board of directors, of how dedicated they are and how well they leverage the resources of donors to the greatest impact. Thus, while not always that obvious, supporting the staff and operations of those that make the foundation work might have the biggest impact of all on our community. I have found the staff to be masterful at listening to community members, to nonprofit leaders, and using the resources of the foundation to turn those dialogues into real action. Finally, both my job at Cornell and the College of Human Ecology and the time I spend with the Community Foundation gives me great hope for the future. Up on the Hill, I get to work with amazingly talented young people who care deeply about helping others. I know great things lie ahead for them and what they will accomplish. And in the offices of the Community Foundation, I see the collective energy of so many working for a better and more just future. Thanks again for giving me the opportunity to reflect on what it means to be a donor to the Community Foundation. Thank you.
want to thank all of those who shared their thoughts and inspiring work with us today. I trust that viewers learned something new and will consider what actions and conversations flow from what you have heard. Some of these messages were recorded as recently as a few days ago, others more than 2 weeks ago before the most recent responses to the latest manifestations of racial injustice in our society. Our original goal from when we began planning this event back in January was to invite people to reflect on what gives them hope and what examples of gratitude they've experienced. Hope can be a wellspring of resource and potential for action, especially when gratitude is impacted by more recent circumstance. Community Foundation always welcomes your comments, questions, messages, and challenges. In our work, we value transparency, accountability, integrity, and inclusion. We invite relationships of powerful dialogue. Please stay in touch with us by way of our website, our social media, and we hope one day soon again in person. During our presentation just now, you may have noticed some animated elements, giving and granting data charts, a bubble chart showing relative size of support to 2019 grantees in a variety of areas such as arts and culture and health and human services, and a very special 20-year timeline of Community Foundation milestones from 2000 through 2019. All of that and more is available for you to take a look at with additional resources online in our 2019 annual report entitled Engaged Philanthropy, Inspired Communities. We would like to thank our annual gathering premier sponsor, Visions Federal Credit Union, and our corporate sponsors, whose listings may also be found in our annual report. We wish to express our gratitude to WellSaid Media and Cornell University, both contributing mightily for their technical assistance for today's gathering. Our Social Justice Field of Interest Fund is dedicated to understanding and interrupting the traditional patterns of exclusion, which prevent equal opportunity for all. We have made funds available for 2 grants to be made by 2 of you participating today in this gathering. These grants will be guided by our community impact and our philanthropic consulting staff. The 2 grant makers selected just now by a random number generator applied to our registration list are Carl Graham and Ralph Bocchino. Congratulations. We will be in touch with you soon to facilitate your grants. We had originally planned to end our virtual gathering by sharing a community montage of your responses to questions about what you are thankful for and what you are joyful about. In respect of how we as a community are in the midst of raw and painful experiencing of injustice and injury and the resulting rage and grief, we have made the decision to not share this with you at this time. We will revise this work, invite others of you to engage in it as well, and we'll share these expressions in another format at another time. Instead, we want you to think about what your time, talent, treasure, and voice can contribute to what our communities need to heal, to seek racial justice, to restructure our relationships and rebuild our institutions, and to share power. Our website has some ideas and resources, and we'd like to hear from you about what additional information we can share. Join your community foundation in a pledge to commit the resources to take action now. Thanks go to our board and staff for their expertise, their passion, and their aspirations which guide our work every day. To donors and funding partners who truly make it possible by magnifying philanthropy. To the amazing mission-driven sector full of incredible nonprofit agencies doing awesome work. And to the incredible, talented, powerful members of this resilient community. At a pivotal time in our history, when hearts, minds, and social movement momentum appear to be more open to making the changes we need, we hope that true and sustainable progress can be accomplished. Our communities need all of us, together. Thank you.